So what's going on? It's your boy Lionel, class of 2009, back with another episode of PV versus everybody. And listen, it's week 7. It's the recap show, and I think my man's already said, "Hey, listen, this is nothing to recap. All right, it's nothing to see here. All right, it's nothing to see here. Just some road construction." All right, we're gonna send y'all in a different direction. But hey, listen, we're gonna talk about it. All right, this is what we're here for. It's the recap show. But before we get into it, y'all already know what it is, man. Listen, first and foremost, if you're not following us over on Instagram and on Twitter, make sure you follow us over on there. All right, because listen, we already trying to put these shirts together for 2025. All right, we got 2025 shirts. All right, we already getting ready. All right. We getting 2025 shirts ready. And so you'll see that over there on there. So make sure you go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel. The goal, of course, right? The goal, of course, is 750. We've already reached the 600 mark. All right. We reached that 600 mark. Now it's time to build and get better. Hey, listen, you can't stay stagnant. You can't keep doing the same things. You got to always elevate, right? You know what I'm saying? Innovate, elevate, right? And go up. All right. And so for many of y'all, right, it's time for y'all to innovate and elevate and to go up. And for many people in your life, that means it's time for you to get your home of your own. All right. And my man, Jeff McKissick, Texas licensed loan officer with a Fairway Independent Mortgage Company, he can help you to elevate, all right, in your life, in your experience, by helping you in that process. See, I know many of us are unaware of our credit scores and true financial situation, but look, Jeff will help you develop a step-by-step plan to improve your financial standing, making your dream of owning a home achievable sooner than you think, all right? He understands your financial situation may not be perfect, but it's okay. The sooner you start the conversation, the sooner you can solve those problems like student debt and, credit issues. So don't let fear of achieving new heights hold you back from getting the home of your dreams. Perfect for your growing family and hosting those TV watch parties. All right. And listen, it's going to be a lot more eating than watching at those watch parties right now. But listen, hosting them nonetheless. All right. So get started right now, man, on taking the first steps toward your new home and taking your next big step in life. Don't delay. Talk with Jeff today so you can be in your home tomorrow. All right. He looks forward to speaking with you soon. So with that being said, hey, listen, I got to get my guys up. Hey, what's going on? How y'all doing? Hey, we got week 7 of HBCU football, all right? And we're in the middle of the SWAC. It's the good, the bad, and the ugly. You know what I'm saying? You got the young and the restless, all right? You know what I'm saying? What's going on? What are you doing, Coach?
Everything going pretty good. Been footballing all weekend. So I'm looking forward to seeing what people got to say, what they have to ask about. But it's been a lot of football in the Northern household since Thursday night, so I'm ready for it.
How'd your son do this weekend? How did he fare?
Hey man, the crazy thing. So he, like I say, we don't get much information from him, but he's one of the team captains. They playing a team that's not very good. The joke is a team captain that don't even start the game. So look, he may have played 9 plays. They won like 50-something to nothing, but he didn't need to play a lot. But it was funny to me that he did, like I say, get to be a captain and didn't hardly play. And then one of the guys that coached me, his son, Coach Harrelson, was my defensive backs coach, my teammate. His son came to the game, and he was almost like, Adam must not be very good because he ain't playing a lot tonight. So, it's like, it was just a good environment, but it wasn't a very competitive game, though.
Oh man, that's no better. Mr. Carey, what you got going this evening?
Well, what I got going is I've been back. No. And I wanted to go with this one, but I heard you got the whole choking hazard thing, and I'm kind of clumsy. So maybe I want to go with that one. So
oh my goodness.
I'll go with the
okay. Listen, I had to put you.
This is a black day for me.
Hey, listen, I had to put you full screen for that. Listen, oh man. Not the paper bags, all right. Not the paper. The Saints setting trends for the wrong reasons out here. All right,
I remember that
for the wrong reasons out here. You know what I'm saying? But listen, man. we gonna talk about it. All right, we gonna talk about it. I'm happy. Listen, I got in my little coaching bag this past weekend. You know what I'm saying? I actually been in my little coaching bag for the last couple of weeks. You know, I know my man Ronald Hunt to be around. You know, he always brings up, you know, me playing back in Monroe, Louisiana. My dad was my high school basketball coach, right? But you know, I got some coaching in my genes, and I like to see my guys. We had a little scrimmage this past weekend. We was undermanned, right? We didn't even have all our guys there, and I love how we got after it. All right, you know what I mean, playing against some older guys too, you know. But I'm like, man, I'm just looking at kind of what we put in there. I love when the guys take. I'm like, bro, I'm telling you, just listen to what I'm telling you. I feel like Coach Northern right there. I'm like, just listen to what I'm telling you. Just get that man a head fake. He gonna fly by you, and it's gonna be layup city. And he listened to me. And I'm just like, bro, what I just tell you? What I tell you? What I tell you? Okay, thank you. That should mean you should just listen to me for the rest of your life. Okay, just keep it this way. All right, and some positivity gonna keep coming. So, but now, man, I was excited, man, to get in my little coaching bag. You know what I mean? I've been just kind of been helping around. You know what I mean? Basketball, that's my first love, my first sport. So, you know, able to get out there and teach the kids, it's been really dope, man. And I really love that experience. My wife on the sideline getting it. She's like, who is this man? Let me see his ID. Let me see his ID. Is he 18? Is he 17? You know what I mean? So, but anyway, so let's get into it, man. Talk about the game this past weekend. Week 7, winners and losers. Coach, we're gonna start with you. Who's your biggest winner from this week? Who's your biggest loser?
Biggest winner got to be the Braves. Mm-hmm. You know, like I say, going to Grambling, a place they hadn't won, I want to say 11 or 13 years, and getting the win the way they got it, you got to make them the biggest winner. And the biggest loser is got to be Texas Southern because of the way that they lost. You know, they pretty much control that game, and to lose it the way they did is, you know, we have a saying, me and another guy, I'm not going to say his name, but we say Texas Southern that thing yesterday.
Oh my goodness!
Ain't no other way around that.
Yeah, that was crazy. We gonna talk about that one too. Biggest loser, Carrie.
Oh, biggest loser. I would have to say Prairie View, because you know we went up there, and not that UAPB is a bad team, but you know, we'll get into it later, but we definitely were the biggest loser. And the biggest winner to me is Mr. Campbell. The biggest winner to me, oh man, it's got to be a tie between Alcorn and Southern, because dang, Southern must have kept the chicken foot in Texas somewhere, because they shook it again. I'm telling you, man, God, I knew Texas Southern would win that game. And Southern shook that. If they can get you close to the end, it's somebody that lives in Texas, got that chicken foot, and they just, and you got to put them away if you're going to beat Southern. And that's just kind of how it goes. So I would say them, and then Alcorn going to the hole. I did not expect that. So yeah, that was a big win.
Yeah, I gotta go. You know, talk about biggest winner, Alcorn, period. Going to Grambling in the hole where they haven't, Mr. Campbell put it here once since 2006, right?
Wow.
Gotta be the biggest winner, right? Again, I've been saying it, right? I've been saying it because this, and we ain't there yet, but this past game on Friday is the reason why I said I was worried about Alcorn in the first place. Because if you look at how Makai Hagens were able to move around and keep extending plays right in the pocket, be able to pick up shots on the ground, that's the exact reason I'm saying, listen, even if the boy can't throw, just his legs alone scare me. All right. You know what I'm saying? And now, not that anything crazy went on in Grambling, right? But able to grind out a victory, right? 17-15. And that's all that matters, right? 1 point, 2 point, 20 point, 30 point, it don't matter, right? It's a dub. Alcorn is now 3-0. And when you look, it's like, man, that their schedule was so perfect, right? Yeah. know what I'm saying? Starting off with conference games against, UAPB, and then the conference games, against Valley, and then against UAPB, right? Before you have to go to Grambling. It's like, man, it just builds up perfect for them having their four games early on, and now having their conference games in the back end. Almost remind me of a similar like the MEAC and they kind of schedule, right? Of being able to get games in early on and be able to build up. So I've been saying it that Alcorn was like, man, I'm looking at them like, listen, if they can figure it out and they say, hey, we're gonna just run this ball on the ground and use our QB as an extra guy in the run game, they my biggest winner. Biggest loser gotta be Texas Southern, right? Gotta be Texas Southern, because you still control your own destiny, right? You know what I'm saying? And I mean, because you could go Graham here too, but you had the game won, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, you had the game in your hand, and you lose that game in the last second off of giving up that field position, giving up that touchdown, going into overtime. I mean, that's devastating. They got to be devastating, right? You know what I'm saying? To not be able to be 1-1 in conference right now, as you really should be. You know what I'm saying? So that one's tough, man. That was a tough one to take on the chin. So I definitely got Texas Southern as the biggest losers on this one. So before we get into the recap of the SWAC games as you see on the screen this week, I did want to just mention and just kind of fly through all of the games from the MEAC and the Independence from this past weekend, because I think it's we saw a couple big things from in that world this weekend, right? First and foremost, with Tennessee State getting the win over Eastern Illinois, 41-17, right? Obviously, that's huge for them. They now move to 3-1 in the Big South OVC, right? That is super huge for them to be able to be in that position to be 3-1, sitting right now in second place behind Southeastern Missouri State, who just dismantled, their opponent this past weekend, right? And so 5-2 overall, 3-1 in the Big South OVC. And again, I said everything's in front of them. And Tennessee, that's who Southeast Missouri State played. Tennessee Tech, they completely dismantled them this weekend, right? So I said Tennessee Tech got 2 games coming up that they could lose both of those games, and Tennessee State could be right back in the hunt. And they're sitting right back there, right? And so I'm interested to see how Tennessee State continues throughout this rest of this year. I think their next game is going to be against Howard, right, for Howard's homecoming. So they got a break from conference play before their last 4 conference games, coming in. Then when you look at over at the CAA, looking at, of course, this past weekend, you had Norfolk State going up against Towson, and they end up losing that game 28-23. North Carolina A&T and Hampton were off this past weekend. And then also in the MEAC, right, looking at the rest of their scores, Howard with a 21-14 win over Sacred Heart. Have North Carolina Central, of course, 28-0 over Virginia Lynchburg, which is, that's what it should have been, right? And then Robert Morris, 23-0 over Delaware State. A little bit shocking to me. The Delaware State wasn't able to put up a bigger fight there. And then Morgan State with a loss to Merrimack, 32-24. Did put up 24 points, so that's moving in the right direction for Morgan State. But other than that, man, they lose that game before going into conference play next week. What's your thoughts overall right now about the MEAC coach before we get into the SWAC? Kind of, how do you see that conference as a whole right now after you've now seen basically 7 weeks of football, really 8 weeks with week 0, right, in Norfolk playing FAM? What do you feel about that conference just in general as they now really, really head into conference play starting next week?
Yeah, I think it's going to all come down to Central and South Carolina State at the end of the day. Everybody else is like a whole 2 rungs below, not even 1 rung. But at the same time, some of those second-level teams can step up and clip them if they don't bring their A game. So it's just like anywhere else. But you like say, everybody knows that those 2 are a couple years ahead of everybody else in that conference.
Are you kind of shocked that South Carolina State is already being mentioned and looked at this year as that team that is them or Central? Does that kind of shock you at all, or do you feel like you kind of expected that based on the fact that Chennisberry moving down the street, right down the road, since to Orangeburg.
Sort of down the street, but the thing about it, he brought a lot of guys with him. Now, like you say, you like to think, are those guys really quote unquote Division I players? Because some of those Division II guys are Division I players that didn't like school that much for the most part. So you can bring you some good guys back up without them having to sit out. But it's not a surprise. Like I say, knowing his background, his philosophy has always been, if I could block him, we could beat him, being an offensive line coach. So, and it's not like the cover was bare at South Carolina State. So that's another good thing, being able to bring some guys in that know your system. So it's not like you have to teach everybody. And even now, his guys that he brought with him, they the third string coach. Like, hey, this is what coach talking about. Y'all call it this the same thing type of stuff.
Right.
That makes a difference when you got transfers that know the system.
Carrie, what's your just thoughts on South Carolina State so far? Is it a shock to you that Chennisberry has this team essentially lined up to be right now looking at the second best team in the MEAC?
Not too big of a shock because we talked about it before, but their infrastructure is set up for a championship. And when you had the support behind you, not just the coaching, but, the support of the coaching, they probably have a pretty good size compliance department. So when Chennis wanted to bring people in, he didn't have to struggle with people or figure out where his kids are going to live and they get frustrated and say, I'm not coming there. That kind of thing is stuff that the casual fan doesn't see, that also helps the team. And he knew how to win coming from his old school. So I thought he'd be a year away, but I'm not surprised that they came up the way they have so far. So it's definitely going to be them. And like you said, now that Morgan's scoring points, though, you still got to keep a good eye on them just in case they, get the defense together again like last year, because they're scoring more than they did last year.
No, that's definitely big. The thing that's interesting before we move on to SWAC, that North Carolina Central goes to South Carolina State on Thursday, October 31st.
Ooh-wee.
That's very interesting. So that's a Thursday game, midweek game first and foremost. We already talked about midweek games last week, right? And then the fact, that's interesting. But listen, that the MEAC needs to be really marketing around that game, right, on that day in the first place, right?
Hey, if I'm them, that's one of those, anybody with a high school ID could probably get in for $3 to $5, even if I charge them that much. And we're gonna make the concession cheap. We're gonna try to get it packed, because it's not gonna be a good look playing on a Thursday night, two of your premier teams with 500 people in the game. I might bring in 5 high school bands and say, look, y'all come in y'all practice uniforms and fill up this visiting side of the stadium. Look, when I coached at Morehouse, what they would do for some of the basketball games, they would make everybody sit on the visiting side of the stadium and film from the home side. Exactly. So now you only have one side of the stadium packed. So I'll do something like that, but I'm gonna get some seats in those stands some kind of way.
Nah, that's for that game. It's gonna be a big game, gonna be a huge game. You definitely got to make it work. So let's move on to the SWAC scores, right? First and foremost, let's start with the two on the bottom, actually. Alabama State 54-17 over Mississippi Valley. Any thoughts on Alabama State, first and foremost, putting up 50 points? Because I'm sure they're happy to be able to see just some points on the board as they continue to move through their SWAC schedule, right? Because, hey, listen, I'm just serious, right? I feel like sometimes it's like, I always say, listen, sometimes you just got to see the ball go in the hole, right? You need to get to the free throw line, because you just need to see the ball go in so you can remind yourself of what you can do, right? And so Alabama State being able to put up some points, that can do well for them, right, going into the rest of this SWAC season, to know, like, okay, listen, we can get over the hump, right, and get in the end zone. Any thoughts on that game?
Hey, that might have been the first time they side of the scoreboard saw a 3 on the front end, and once it got to 30, they were like they didn't even know that number worked. So I know they happy over there just being able to put some points on the board. But you would take them. It may become a game where they wish they would have saved a few of those for down the road. But they gonna take what they can get to stay in the race over on that side.
Yeah, hey, listen, because the reality is, right, they could still have a chance if Jackson knocks off FAM and they could beat Jackson. They could be right back in that thing, right? So, it's one game at a time for them. Any thoughts on this game for you, Kerry?
It's puzzling because when I see a score like that, I didn't see the game, but I expected to see a lot of penalties. But Valley only had 2 penalties, and I would pray for a game like that for PV, 2 penalties. And so it had to be in field position, but also Kareem Key had, what was it, 306 yards passing. Good gracious.
Right. This is what I was going to ask about, because looking back at it always feels like, you look back, hindsight always 2020, of course, right? But to have a game like they had the week prior where you don't put the ball in the air essentially at all, and to now this week having somebody, and even though regardless of it being Valley, right, being able to put up 300 passing yards is period. Like, listen, you always tip your hat when you can do something like that, 4 touchdowns through the air, right? So it wasn't as if this game they came and said, man, they just ran the ball down their throat like against Bethune-Cookman, right, when they had basically over 200 plus rushing yards, right? This was a game where they only had 124 rushing yards and over 300 passing yards. I mean, it's almost like these are 2 completely different teams, and it almost questions say, man, even game 1 against Central, when it looks like you had 2 guys that you felt even better at passing the ball, you still was looking to kind of be more. Not that you don't want to be run first, right? You know what I'm saying? But to be completely 60-40 run, 65-35 run, right? And here you see something completely different. It's just interesting, right? That, coach, this game, they wouldn't kind of, if their strategy is going to say, hey, we're going to run the ball.
But see, what was crazy, Lionel,
you know what I'm saying?
They did run the ball. That's what's crazy. They only had 21 pass attempts.
That's true. That's a good point, right?
That's insane.
They average 14 yards per pass. So
yes, it's crazy.
I guess you make a good point there, right? It's just they just had a lot of success against Valley secondary. So hey, well, let's keep it moving, right? Alabama A&M 56-12 over Bethune-Cookman. Did this one shock either of y'all that this was such a big victory for Alabama A&M?
I would have thought Bethune's defense would have played better, but it's not. I'm not gonna say it's not shocking at all. I wouldn't expect 56, but I would have thought Bethune defense would have played better, maybe in that 28-17, but not 56. No.
Yeah, and I'm surprised they finally let Langford loose.
Right.
But then again, another crazy game. These dudes rushed 50 times, but had 370 yards passing. I would give anything for that.
Well, they also had 333 yards on the ground too.
Yeah, that's insane.
So I mean,
wow, they let everybody run the ball. Did the water boy run it?
Yeah, it was a big run.
703 total yards of offense.
Wow.
Think about
that.
And
I'm like, Coach, I thought Bethune's defense, they've always had the offense let them down, but I'm surprised their defense gave up that many yards.
Yeah, I mean, Bethune had not looked that. I mean, I guess you can look at the Clark Atlanta second half, right, and say, okay, they had the potential to give up, that many yards, but it's still kind of shocking, right? You know what I'm saying? Because I don't think overall, when you looked at Bethune-Cookman's defense, they have been a solid defense, right? Even from last year to this year. But man, Alabama A&M just completely turned it on, and again, it goes back to hindsight, right? It's you kind of seeing him use X right here and there, Xavier Langford, but Maynard had never committed to Xavier just being that guy, right? You know what I'm saying? Again, you think about Eddie Robinson in that first game with Body, right? You know what I mean? It's like you kept going to him and he kept pulling you out of holes, but when is it like listen, man, just get a man the reins and just move forward with them. So I don't know, man, but I know they're probably thinking, man, what could be, right? And of course, Jackson is probably slowing down right in that second half, so you really never know. But hey, man, could it have been a different game if you have Xavier Langford, starting for that full game instead of coming in that second half? But yeah, man. So, but let's get to the two that obviously had some very, very big ramifications for sure. Southern Texas Southern, Texas Southern, right? Obviously, not a big point game, right? Definitely a defensive standstill throughout that first half into that second half. I want to ask Coach, because I did see some people, make the comment or ask, why don't you just take the safety right there, just punt the ball off, right, and then make them go, 60 yards, right, whatever it be, to try to get a touchdown with less than 20 seconds. What was the thought process on the strat, especially knowing, and I guess the big question is because the SWAC, we have seen, if there's any conference that's seen bad special teams play in the punting game, we've seen it, right? What's your thoughts on that, and to those who would say, why not go with that strategy versus what we did see from Texas Southern?
I think the amount of time would have been one thing. So there's a couple scenarios. First of all, when Southern had to kick it off after the safety, my thought process, to be honest with you, would have been, I'm going to try the onside kick then instead of kicking it off. But Southern still had 2 timeouts. I think on the TV version, it was showing 1, which was a mistake. So, but when he kicked it off, I said, oh, okay, now I see it makes sense. But on the back end, we had to play. If we had to punt late in the ball game, we would just line up in our punt formation and tell everybody, point at a man, and whatever man you point at, we're going to take a safety. You tackle that man, because we're taking a safety anyway. Yeah. And then you tell your punter to run to the back of the end zone, and before anybody touches you, you step out of bounds so you could hold a guy. And I'm talking about literally tackle them, don't let them up for 8 to 10 seconds. Especially if they put somebody deep. So I was thinking that they may do that, but I would, as a coach, is no way in West HELL you think that kid, what happened was going to happen. It wasn't a block kick. The kid simply missed the ball.
Crazy.
So you can't count on something like that happening. So, from a coaching standpoint, I don't think that's the strategy. But I don't think anybody can think that pessimistically that that's going to happen to me. My punter is going to miss the whole football, pretty much.
Wow. And he missed. Listen, I mean, I don't know what kind of nerves that was, but
chicken foot. I'm telling you. Ask him how many times he missed that kick before, and if he ever missed it again. Chicken foot.
Yeah, Kerry, what was your thoughts, man? Did you see that live or did you see the replay?
I saw a replay, and I thought Texas Southern played well, and it was just kind of the ending that was just really. It's an issue if Southern gets you into overtime. Some kind of way they get a bounce, something weird happens, and it's just not a good place to be with Southern is overtime. They always seem to have the players that'll make that extra step, jump a little higher, tip that pass to mess it up, hit the hole just right and run the ball straight in like they did on PV. It's, but I was like everybody else. I stopped watching. So I thought it was done. So I missed that part. And, man, it's just the crazy. It's the SWAC, though. You'll do that.
Man. It's the SWAC. And I mean, being up 14-0, first of all, at halftime, that's why I say, I mean, to me, Texas Southern still being in a position to be able to get it done. One thing that interesting to me was Jace Wilson wasn't more effective through the air, right? He was only 13 for 30 for 90 yards. So really they weren't able to move the ball through the air at all. Only 242 yards total, period, from an offensive standpoint. And you're not going to win a lot of games if you're only putting up less than 250 yards, in the total offense, right? Another thing in penalty game, Southern had 10 penalties, 114 yards, 7 for 70 for Texas Southern. On the ground, both teams rushed for over 4 yards per carry. Southern 167 yards, Texas Southern 152. But really, at the end of the day, man, it came down to just special teams, right? Special teams play. In that last game. If you are coaching Texas Southern right now, how do you get these guys up and ready for these next 3 weeks? Because these next 3 weeks are, they're basically Texas Southern season, right? You know what I'm saying? With home games as well, right? Against Graham, home games against FAM, right? How do you get them back up and not allow this game to? Because this is a heartbreaker, right? You know what I'm saying? What are you saying to them, after this?
Well, they still have everything to play for if you think about it, because who they still have left to play. They still have Alcorn, who's in the lead. Alcorn may drop one to somebody. Then you have the head-to-head tiebreaker over Alcorn. So that's what you're selling. The chance that, I don't know what their overall record is, but sometimes you sell having a winning record. But the main thing is you still have a chance with only 2 losses in the SWAC West to get to the championship game.
Yes. And mentally, they got to keep that chip on their shoulder that where they were picked, what was it, 5th? So he needs to understand nobody even expected us here, but we did, we believe. So they got to dig deep and tell them, in practice, make sure you don't jump on that whistle or the clap. Make sure you do that extra, put an extra plate on in the weight room, just we really want this. So it's right there because, like you said, they're not in the position of some other teams that have no shot.
Right. So, well, listen, they're going to have a chance, right? And they got to get up off that mat quickly. And the good thing you said, right, at the end of the day, you still got a lot of games right ahead of you. And so Alcorn and Southern next week. So you still got a chance to still be in this race. So let's move on to Alcorn and Grambling and Whole. 17-15. Alcorn comes out with the victory. It's another game where it was 14-6 at halftime. Alcorn was up. Only 3 points scored for Alcorn in the second half, right? Only allowed Grambling 3 points, right? 9 points in the second half. And so they're able to squeeze out a 17-15 victory over Grambling. Miles Crawley was only 16 for 28 for 149 yards, 1 interception. Grambling ran for 157 yards. Alcorn ran for 156. But hey, listen, with Tyler Macon and Xavier Vaughn, they both together threw for 179 yards, a touchdown, and interception. And really, when you look at it, that was the game, right? They were able to throw for 30 more yards and able to throw for 1 touchdown, right? So really, when you look at both of the quarterbacks, the quarterback play, right? They were more fit. They were more effective than Crawley was at the end of the day. Of course, both teams had 2 turnovers. Both teams 75 penalty yards for Alcorn, 80 for Grambling. Alcorn possessed the ball 27 minutes, Grambling 33 minutes, right? And so everything was really tight, really close. What for you, Coach? What did you think was the key to this game and this victory that Alcorn was able to pull out over Grambling?
2 big plays, if you think about it. Alcorn had the long run, and then they had the long pass where a guy was totally left wide open. Mm-hmm. But after I picked Grambling, I went back and watched some Alcorn film against Pine Bluff in one other game. And I text my sister, actually, I said, hey, this Alcorn quarterback gives me a little concern for Grambling because of his ability to extend plays. And with his own running scheme and the way that they run some midline with him, I was like, he going to break one and he going to split those safeties. But he didn't do it. It was the running back that actually had the long run. But Grambling's defense played pretty well, in my opinion. It's just like 2 plays throughout the whole game. And that's the thing as a defensive coordinator, when you know you're going to have to play like that, that you're going to get a game where you can't have a big play like that. So that's it in a nutshell. Just the big plays. And we talked about Grambling's defense. They got 2 takeaways. And actually, one of the takeaways came as Alcorn was trying to clock the ball from under center, fumbles it, and Grambling escapes right before halftime. So Grambling defense played well, still didn't put it together on offense. Alcorn defense played, I mean, they stayed in Grambling's backfield. They kept him in second and long, which is not what you want to be, no matter who your quarterback is. Second and long, you don't want that.
So, Larry, what we've been talking a couple of weeks about Grambling's offense, right? And that are they who we think they are, right? You know what I'm saying? Or is Miles Crawley, really living off of last year's, play versus what we've actually seen from this year? What did you think about this Graham offense in this game? And what do you feel? Do you feel that they can kind of dig out of this whole offensively that we see them in?
Well, not if they don't fix the offensive line. He was sacked 4 times, and it's not because he's this running quarterback. It's because, the defensive line is getting back there and he has nowhere to go. And like Coach Northern said, the Alcorn quarterback, you don't want to blitz him. And if you have an undisciplined defensive end that doesn't understand he needs to square off, man, that guy has some long, what is he, 6'6" or something? He has some long legs. I mean, he runs like a gazelle. So you can't slice in as the defensive end. You got to keep containment or else he will hurt you bad. So, but Miles Crawley can't do that. And I saw at the end, the OC kind of called his number again, and Crawley is not going to run it 30 yards. I don't know why they keep doing that, but that was puzzling. But they were just in the backfield too much for him to do anything, and he didn't throw any touchdowns. So he's the offensive player of the year according to the SWAC. So he didn't throw any touchdowns. So I think all those hits he's taking is making him second guesses himself because he doesn't have enough time.
Yeah, and I think that's something. Offensive line question I definitely want to ask, and I think it's the Graham is having that same issue that we also see in PV have, from an offensive line standpoint. And so when we get to this next segment, I definitely will bring a question back, that I definitely want to run by Coach. But with that being said, man, hey, let's move into our next section of our show. This one, man. I know you guys love it. It's literally Northern Lights, man. You know what I'm saying? It's Northern Lights. This is an opportunity. This is a chance where we give Coach Northern the opportunity to put the spotlight on him, right? You know what I'm saying? So he can share with us some of those interesting tidbits and stories. And so this week, man, let me come back up actually, because I want to set this up because we got Alabama A&M right now. Xavier Langford killing it. I know many in the Bulldog Nation is probably texting Coach Maynard right now asking, hey, why we had this carousel going on? I know people are probably looking side-eyed at Dooley and saying, hey, man, what's going on with Miles Crawley? We got this SWAC preseason player of the year, and we not making it work in terms of getting it done, from an offensive standpoint, right? You know what I'm saying? You got Bethune-Cookman that said we was supposed to be coming in and shocking some teams right now, right? And the job not getting done. All I'm saying is maybe we need to talk about a little bit fan interactions, because I think this is a perfect time with all that's transpiring going on. You got people leaving TSU game on Southern side and TSU side, and now they're probably going crazy because they team won or lost. So, Coach Northern, man, talk to a little bit about some of these fan interactions that you've experienced.
Hey, man, sometimes, like I said before, the females, women, whatever you want to call them, can be the worst ones. So I'm gonna go through a couple stories about just dealing with them on some different levels. So one of them when I was a player, so this was a little bit early. So at Southern, when I played, we played in the stadium, but we had to walk to the dome back on the when you first cross the hump after the game. So it had to be my junior year because we were playing Jackson State. So we're walking back to the dome after the game, after the interviews are over with, and I'm walking behind this older lady from Jackson, and she dropped her pom-poms. So I picked it up. I say, "Excuse me, ma'am, you dropped your pom-poms. I'm giving them back to you." The lady said, "Oh," she said, in a nice way, "Oh, thank you, darling. I wouldn't think you would be nice after the way we kicked y'all bleep." So, to me, that was like indicative of Jackson, Mississippi, So, moving forward. So I still go to Prairie View. I started going back to Prairie View. So the last game I go to, it must have been the Southern game. So I'm walking around and I see a lady that I know from being a Prairie View fan. She had a relative that was on the team. I want to say her dad was a coach. I cannot think of her name, and it's not Miss Wanda. Everybody up there pretty much know Miss Wanda with the Panther backers, but it's not her. But it's another older lady that I know very well, but I just can't think of her name. So one game we're coming out after halftime. We walk by the Panther head and all that. And she says to me, "Coach, we're going to have to change our mascot from the Panthers to the Possums." I'm like, "What are you talking about, lady?" She said, "Because we playing dead on the road and we getting killed at home. I can't take too much more of this." So then the band is coming off the field. Like, y'all think I'm making this up. No lie. The band is coming off the field and the flag girls are pretty close to where I'm standing. And one of the flag girls drops their flag. The lady says, "Coach, I see you working with the flag girls too, huh?" So she was, she would always, she always had something like that to say to me, but she would still be, whenever she saw me, nice and hug and, laugh and all that kind of stuff. The last thing, one game, it was closer to the end of the season. So she was like, "Coach, you don't want to take a mental health break?" And I'm saying to her, like, "Nah, I'm fine. It's getting to me, but I'll be okay." She was like, "Nah, not for you, for me, because I'm sick and tired of y'all losing these games or playing all these close games and badly winning. Y'all need to kick people blank so we can, have a good time at the games instead of worrying about these games." But, like I say, I always tell people, and, the women in Baton Rouge is a little bit more different than the women in Prairie, because I think, they sneak a little bit more into their bottles at the game, should I say. And, they ain't bringing chicken feet, but they definitely going to have a little Crown, a little E&J brandy, a little wine or something at those games sometimes. But yeah, that's, the women get on you. The men, sometimes they can be a little bit more personal, but those women, they going to try to interject a little bit of humor. The guys just think they all know football, so I really don't pay too much attention to them jokers. No way.
That's hilarious.
That's hilarious.
Hey, and I, I'm going to the next couple of games. I guarantee one of the first few people I see is going to be this, and I'm going to have to ask her, like, exactly what is her name, because how you see people, you know them, you talk to them,
right.
But I have no idea who. And we hug and everything. "Hey, coach," but she get on me though.
Listen, there's so many. I think there's so many. That sounds like homecoming, right? You know what I'm saying? It's just like so many people they face. You remember situations, man. You remember what happened that one time outside the library, man. You can talk back and forth about it, but it's like, but what's your name again? But you never gonna ask, right? See, for me, I just get there. I just hang around because I'm like, somebody gonna drop something at some point.
They never do.
Yeah, Barry, man. Listen, Barry, bro, Barry. All right, that's why. And you know what the worst thing is? When you exchanging numbers.
Oh,
exchanging numbers with somebody you don't know their name, it's almost like,
nah. This the trick. You gotta get him your phone and tell him, "I don't really know how to do this. Can you do it for me?" And put all your information in. Or either
that's a good one.
Text me all your stuff. Text me your name and number. So I could just lock it in from there. It'd be easier for me because I can't remember how to do it.
Hey, listen, because if you just tell them, call me, it's like, "Listen, saved under."
Oh yeah, you done.
Dude I went to school with that I forgot his name, but I met him again outside Kroger. Okay, like, listen, you gotta remind yourself who in the world these people are. Oh man, that's hilarious. Hey, listen, that lady at PV and the lady at Southern, listen, they need their own show. That lady said we playing awesome. We playing dead. What you say? We playing dead on the road.
We getting killed on the road and dead at home. Play dead at home.
On the road and playing dead at home. That is, listen, that need to be framed right there. That's hilarious, man. So that's a little bit of those fan interactions. And I know right now, man, I know there's some fan interactions going on.
Oh, it's okay.
Listen, and you know me, I like stirring the pot. I ain't got no problem stirring no pot, right? I love it. I love to see it. Okay. But let's talk a little bit about this one. Okay. 21-17. All right. I don't know. I kind of feel like maybe the team just doesn't like my shirts or something. I just think maybe they didn't like my shirts. Maybe I should have designed the shirt differently. You know what I mean? Because they're like, nah, we're not gonna rock that shirt, right? You know what I'm saying? So maybe I should design a different shirt, Carrie. You feel me? So they feel like I want to wear that one. But 21-17, again, we talked about these midweek games on Friday. And I actually didn't watch the game live, right? So I didn't even get a chance to watch the game before I'm getting texts and calls from people ask me about stuff in the first place, because I'm going back to watch the game. But by the time I even get down to sit down and watch the game, I already know what the score is and everything, which I hate, right? Because I always want to sit down as if it's like my first time. I want to see everything fresh, so I have all my emotions, okay? I want all my real emotions, all right? But I can't even do nothing. So I already know we lost, and I come out and see a safety and a drive down the field for a touchdown, and I mean smooth, right? You know what I'm saying? And in my mind, I'm like, how do we lose this game? That's the first question I'm asking. How do we lose this game? Carrie, let me ask you, man. How did PV lose this game?
I watched that game, and I watched it again. I cannot tell you how we lost that game other than the penalties. And I can't even blame it on the home cooking, even though they had some. Because I'm still looking for where Thomas grabbed the other guy.
Yeah.
He had both hands on the ball because everybody was beating the ball, and he got called for hands to the face. I'm still looking at that one.
Was probably one of the worst calls of officiating I've ever seen in my life. Like, I literally went back and rewinded that segment multiple times because I was thinking in my mind was maybe they called it on him, but because the reality is, listen, we ain't got so many penalties at this point. I'm just like, yeah, somebody did something, right? You know, that's just the reality, right? But I went back and rewinded because I'm like, well, maybe they called it on him, but maybe it actually was one of the other players that actually, you know, hit somebody, right? But literally, I'm like, they wrapped him up, they let him go, his helmet was off. Everybody just went their own way. And the joker that threw the flag was behind everybody.
Yep. And they yanked Albert's helmet off. So that's what threw me off.
And like, what did you see?
And throw it off. And that's when he got the hands to the face. And I was like, where'd that? But that was actually the second worst call. And I know I'm gonna be called a homer for saying this because we still should have executed better. But when their quarterback went about 30 yards backwards, but he went straight backwards, and then he threw the ball about 10 yards. It didn't reach the line of scrimmage, and he wasn't beyond the There was no intentional.
That also should have been
right. They got the first down after that. And I'm like, that should have been a loss of down and the ball getting kicked to us. And so it was weird calls like that things like that. Coach, I think Coach could tell me if I'm just being a homer, but those kind of things mentally swerve the momentum. And it's kind of weird when you're on, but we should have executed 3 points in the whole second half is just beyond puzzling me. I don't know how we did that.
I'm gonna let Coach go, right? But you know what I'm saying, since I'm getting in my small coach bag, right? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
This the conversation I just had with my little team the other day, right? Because we played it's a scrimmage, right? That we had, right? We playing. I pulled all of them to the side and said, because all of them, they playing and they really playing bigger guys, older guys. and it was definitely rough. It was a lot more physical, right? Which I don't care because it's like, first of all, y'all need to be more physical. So I'm happy they physical with y'all, right? You know what I'm saying? But I told them, like, listen, can you make any calls? Can you? No, you can't, right? Can you? Next time I hear somebody next time you even look back at me, it's like they fouled me. If you even look at me, you're gonna be sitting beside me because obviously you want to talk to me, right? So you're gonna come sit beside me if you look at me one more time because somebody done touched you. All right. You can't call no fouls for yourself. All right, period.
No,
so don't matter. So guess what? It don't matter. That's not your job. That it ain't even my job. That's their job. But I would take care of that with them. You can't do nothing about that, right? And from that point on, I ain't have to worry about that no more, right? So for me, I'm like, listen, at the end of the day, the call was the call, right? The one with Albert Thomas, I hated it because that one moved us out of a chance to really score, right? You know what I'm saying? Because we were moving the ball and we were in scoring range, field goal range at that time, right? Even though we really didn't put the ball in the end zone after that. So that's why I hated that one the most. But at the end of the day, man, a call is a call. You gotta keep it moving and keep it going. But Coach, what's your thoughts, man?
Well, I do agree that was one of the worst calls because I did the same thing when I sort of like, how did they call it on him when he had the ball? You know, I thought maybe, well, my son them call it basketball, a guy, you know, mush face, but I didn't even see that. But it's
and he got two hands on the ball like this covered up because 4 guys on him, by the way. Yeah.
Sometimes just those calls, and, you know, I try to tell referees, man, y'all fooling with people's livelihood because I can look at some games as a head coach that I know that a call of, you know, before the season, referees come to the practice and tell you their points of emphasis.
Right.
So the points of emphasis one year was leaping over the shield. We played against Valley and they leapt over the shield late in the ball game, didn't call it. Lo and behold, we come back and lose the game. But if we get that penalty call, they don't even get the ball back. So it's things like that when you see things. Or what I would do sometimes, I would go to the referees. I would either write certain things down, or my special teams go, hey, what do we need to talk to the refs about, and go to them and ask them. And sometimes I would on purpose ask 2 or 3 different referees the same question and get 2 or 3 different answers. Right. So, you know, but at the same time, you can't say a call cost you the game because you have so many other chances to rectify some of those bad calls. So, but it's just the execution, the momentum. It was just such a dull environment. Like, the momentum going was hard, and the inconsistent play. Like if you look at it, you know, Savage having 1 catch, you know, that's something that unheard of. You know, as an offense, you can't live with, especially when the other team best player has 9 for 180, 9 for 190, something like that. But that joker made some plays. He was like, look, put everybody else over there and I'm gonna deal with this guy. And you could say, why didn't we double that guy? Because if you go over there and double him, they're gonna screen you to the opposite side. So it was a pick your poison type of deal. And sometimes you gotta live with a 3rd or 4th and long and a guy throwing a fade and that guy just being better than your guy. Sometimes you just gotta, you tell him, take away the slant, expect the fade, and play the ball. And he did it. And they let him get away with a couple of leans because he's such a big guy. He don't have to push off. He can lean off and then get separation from you from that. So he just he just was a football playing Jesse, and the rest of them wasn't.
Yeah, I wanna go to this comment, right? Because listen, I'm with Diva. I want to go back to the top and start because after that first touchdown, and now ESPN didn't play it back. But we get to safety, we go down the field, score a touchdown. Why are we going for 2? I'm confused. Like, I don't know. I don't know the advanced analytics, right? You know what I'm saying? But I'm pretty sure 9 points is a 2-score game, right? So I don't understand why. And because from what I see, I don't know if the ball got fumbled, because I have no idea, because
I couldn't see it either.
ESPN didn't play it back. But all I know is it looked like Jasso threw the ball to Presley, you know what I'm saying, like toward the corner of the end zone, right? So in my mind, I'm just like, okay, was that like a trick play? I was confused. So I really don't know the answer to that, right? We won't know until probably somebody asks on the coach's call, right? But it looked like it was a design play because it didn't look like somebody just scrambling all around. It looked like Presley was out and you had one guy with him, right, playing defense, and we just missed the pass. But I don't know, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, that was confusing. But I know somebody mentioned a point too as well. You talked about them over top. The one play that really was confusing to me, and this is why I asked you, Coach, when you talk about being in a defensive room, right, preparing for a game like this, because this is one question I remember I asked Coach Bubba last week on the coach's call. You know, you coming off a game where in UI-Dub, right, with Jalen Walthall, right, he's one of, if not, right, the guy, right, as an FCS receiver right now at UI-Dub, right? Definitely a top 10 receiver at UIW, right? He goes off for 12 receptions, I think 170 yards, 2 touchdowns. Listen, that's he balling, right? And he made some great plays, right? One got called back, and then he got a touchdown like 2 plays later, right? You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, hey, how do you come into this game knowing Giovanni Gibson is that guy, right?
Yeah.
When you look at the numbers, 1 out of every 3 completions is to that guy. I mean, that's who Mekhi Hagans puts his focus on. Any crucial down we saw at this game, right? He looking his way. How do you not let him beat you? And the one play that kind of disappointed me was it looked like they had maybe a drag route, and then like he went on a post, and I see the safety run across his face down, right? And that's why I'm asking, right? Is there not do you not have conversations about like, hey, this is the guy, right? Because again, right, I'm putting my little small coach's hat on. It's like, listen, that guy can't shoot. If you leave that guy, right, for that guy, we gonna have a problem because he can't shoot out there. So I don't care about him getting the ball out there, right? But if that guy get the ball over here, because you over there, we gonna have a problem. And I'm like, why are you dropping down? Because when I run UAPB game back against Alcorn, that's the same. It's the same play I seen him score a touchdown on. Yeah. When I run that game back against Arkansas Baptist, that's the same play I seen him run a touchdown on. Yeah. And the safety run across his face, and his DB already beat in the first place. The DB already beat. I'm just trying to understand, dude. Is that not a conversation of like, hey, listen, let them take that 15-yard pass play right there, but don't give up the 45-yard touchdown over top. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, it's jokers that play on Sunday and Monday night that make that same mistake because what happens, you see the crossing route, the dig, the shallow post in front of you, like, oh, I got to take that, and the other post coming behind you. And I'm not sure if they went cover 3 or what, but that's that's a route that everybody does, and all they doing is reading the free safety. Free safety stay back, we're going to take the dig. Free safety takes the dig, we're going to stay back. And I can remember one time we were playing North Dakota State when they had the guy that went to the pros at quarterback. This joker, I called a timeout because we had just turned the ball over. I say, man, this is the play that they're going to run.
Right.
They're going to run a shallow, they're going to run a dig, and then they're going to run a post behind it. I told the free safety, line up at 20 yards deep and don't move until you see the post. Well, they flipped the formation and ran the same exact play. Why did Joker came down on the dig? Coach, you said he was, but you know, it's the concept that you see that in front of you and you really don't think he's going to throw it that far behind you. But that's a common play that everybody runs. And I know the defensive backs coach works on staying middle of the field. Don't drive. Which he'll tell them don't go until you know for sure type of deal. But that you'll see that. Watch ESPN tomorrow. You'll see the same play.
So this is my follow up, right? Because how are teams playing Shamar Savage versus how are we defending other teams' best receiver? because it seems like when I look back, I mean, I've seen plays where I can see that they for sure kept on this specific play, not every play, right? Because I've seen Savage have certain plays where we didn't look his way, you know what I mean? But I've seen certain plays right on specific downs where I'm like, you can see they made sure they kept a safety over top of him, for example, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you see like other teams playing Savage differently than kind of we playing against some of the other top receivers?
Well, part of it is your style of play.
Yeah.
Another thing is, if Savage just played X, but he moves around a little bit, he's not in the same place. So if he played only to the one receiver side, he could make it harder for them to decide if they're going to double off. The other thing is, and this is my opinion from watching him run routes, a lot of times on his routes, he does not give the quarterback enough space to make a throw where he can throw him open to the sideline. When he takes off, what we call a stem, that's when you first take off the line of scrimmage, he steps 2 to 3 yards wide. Now he's making it harder for the quarterback, and he's making it easier for the defensive back instead of pushing vertical. That's my opinion from watching route runners. So the other thing is Pine Bluffs and Alcorn screen game are so good, you can't but defend them a certain amount of ways because they are going to make plays against you if you don't line up to them certain ways. And it's just a style of offense. Prairie View doesn't have that screen style offense that Pine Bluff and Alcorn does. So when you don't have that screen style, you can't do the other things that they do so they can take advantage of their guys, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I understand.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because that's what threw me off, Lionel, is and not saying UAPB is a basement team, but they did the eye candy and the motion I expected our offense to do. That's what I was expecting with chaos, because they did take Gibson, and I called it where I was looking at it and I said, oh man, he's in motion and he's going to the empty side. It was like maybe one guy or nobody over there. And, it wasn't a belly route, but he ran that, he ran in motion. And I think we was in zone because nobody went with him. And when he came in motion, he was automatically open and just wide open. And then what really disappointed me about Gibson, we shut him down the second half. But when we could have got the ball back, they were 3rd and long, and he still got the ball. You knew in that situation with 3 minutes left on the clock, who else is he going to look at? And once again, it was nobody over top. And he completed that really long pass to keep the ball moving and keep the ball away from Prairie View. And it was disappointing that our offense got 3 points. I just don't understand. And I think, like we said, we should have run, and I'm just being my small seat coach like you, Lionel. I didn't understand why the underneath wasn't ever tried. They run it a little bit to Spiller, but I think Savage on that underneath, as big as he is, he would shield the ball naturally, on a slant route out of the slot. And I just think it wouldn't be anything they could do with him. And I think, did we throw it at him twice? I don't remember how many targets. But I'm like, even if he's covered, you got to target that guy. He's 6'4". I mean, defense are that tall.
Yeah, I would have to look at the targets. I didn't take a look at the targets. I could pull it up and see if they have the targets listed. But I do know that I've said this before, right? There's some plays you just got to make, though, right? You know what I'm saying? Because I do recall one target where there was a drop, right? You know what I'm saying? And so you gotta to be that guy, right? There's some plays that you just gotta make when it's just like, dude, you just gotta shake somebody's hand, right? That's what you call it, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, just listen. Gibson made a couple catches. Like, listen, he boxed a guy out, catch the ball on the sideline. Man, listen, you gotta shake the guy's hand, right? You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day. And I think with that consistently, we haven't seen that, right? You know what I'm saying? And we've seen us put the ball on the ground a little bit more than I think we would have liked to see. We did move the ball around a lot. One thing I was shocked at was I think we did run the ball effectively. I don't think that we didn't kind of move the ball on the ground. I was a little bit shocked that we didn't kind of move the ball a little bit more on the ground. I think the short passing game probably helped that too as well, but we didn't kind of continue to go back to that. And the game was not away from us, right, in order to have to throw the ball all the time. But was any of y'all kind of shocked that we weren't, not that we weren't effective, because I think we were effective on the ground more than what is shown, right? We had 32 rushing attempts, 97 rushing yards, right? Arkansas Pine Bluff 35 rushing attempts, 115 rushing yards. And what do we say, right? Last week, say, hey, really, it's like, can PV get 150? If you get 150, you know who won the game. Well, we got 97, right? And we lost, right? I think Jaden Johnson had in that, as far as rushing attempts, I think he also had 14, right? So some of those were not true rushing attempts, right? When you talk about 32, I think maybe 3 of those were design runs. So you're really probably talking about 21 rushing attempts to the 37 passing attempts, right? So what do y'all think about that?
Well, I think part of it was 2 things that I noticed as watching the game. Number one, in my opinion, Pine Bluff was able to play a good bit of cover 2.
Yes.
Which takes away certain passing routes, and they were able to reasonably stop the run. They didn't necessarily stop the run. And then a lot of times, some of those penalties, and they didn't have a lot for Prairie View standards, but when they come and put you behind the chain so much, it changes everything. But they were able to run it, but not break big runs.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at some of the runs that Pine Bluff had, it was some gashes up in there, and not the 50-yard one. Like a 15 or 12-yard run is a long run, but they were not able to sustain some drives and just bog down on third. It was a lot of second and longs instead of second and 2s and 3s, whether they ran or passed the ball. So, but I think the biggest thing that helped Pine Bluff, they were able to play cover 2 and take away some of the bigger plays to Spill and Savage. And whereas Prairie View, because of Pine Bluff's screen game, had to play more cover 1, cover 3, which leaves you to play a little bit softer on the outside and play a little bit more one-on-one because of all the screens and picks and, rubs and linemen downfield. I ain't gonna even talk about that, but that's a whole different ball game.
So, we got this question here from Zach that I want Coach to get you to answer. And then I'm gonna push forth, and we're gonna talk a little bit about the game of the week, because I know you do gotta you gotta shut it down. But hey, listen, we had one running back with 4.1 average this game. Jamarius Brooks 5.5 average this game. Had Lamaje McDowell, right, with 7.5 average this game. Scooter average 2.7. So when you talk about what we've seen previously, where everybody was under 3, and under 4 for sure, and under 3, this game we see a different average per carry than we saw before. It didn't look as if we couldn't run the ball. It seemed as if we didn't
run it.
It seemed a little bit different. We had a 31-yard was the longest for McDowell, 9-yarder for Wisham, 8-yarder for Jamarius Brooks, 11 for Jaden Johnson, 4 for Scooter Adams, right? I mean, three of your running backs, right? I mean, 8 yards plus is their longest run. I mean, it seemed, and it's only really 17 carries, right? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it just kind of, I don't know. I feel like something was missing there. But Zach has this question. What's your thoughts? O-line, running back, or maybe both? What do you see as the issue there with the running game for PV this year in general?
I think it's a combination of both, because, just like people always blame sacks on the offensive line. All the time, sacks, it could be the quarterback dropping too deep, not the proper pass protection or hot routes. But I just think the art of running the ball is being able to run when both teams knowing you're going to run and still being able to run. When you run and they're not expecting it, don't mean anything. But when it gets to those 3rd and 2s and 3rd and 3s, you have to get some people moving. You got to get them thinking. Like, if you can't block them, the other way to block them is to make them think and slow down by motions. You can't really crack like you used to, down blocks, pin and pulls. and then you got to add your quarterback into the run game, some kind of way.
So, before you head out, I wanted to get your thoughts on this. I was really got two big games this week, right? Southern Alcorn, but obviously this one is the biggest of the two. FAMU, Jackson State. Just give us your general thoughts on this game. What's the keys for Jackson to come out with a victory? What are the keys for FAMU?
Keys: FAMU quarterback play and Jackson's offensive line play. I think that's going to be the key. I tell you what, where's that game being played at?
It's in Jackson.
Hey, man, I wouldn't mind riding over there to check that one out.
Me too.
Hey, as much as I can say I don't like Jackson, I love to be at that game, especially if Florida A&M bringing a lot of people and they band. Shoot, I'll give me an apartment over there, but I would love to see that one just from the because like you say, FAM, Southern, and Jackson all the same when it comes down to it, because they don't think they supposed to lose to nobody. they all in the hood, but want to call the other one ghetto. All that type of stuff. But that's the game right there. I would love to be at that one, but I think it's going FAMU quarterback play versus Jackson. If Jackson can run the ball, they can make it long for FAM.
Yeah, if they can run the ball, then obviously one thing for sure is going to happen. They get a chance to keep the ball away from FAMU's offense, right? Yes. And I think that's going to be a really big thing. The good thing with this is Coach ain't got no ties to FAMU or Jackson State, so I can ask the question that everybody really want to know, right, in the chat. Because listen, I ain't gonna be the only one up here that people got issues with, right? You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to bring some other people along with me, so other people got issues too. Okay, so Coach, I need a winner. Who is gonna win the SWAC East? FAMU, Jackson State. Let the people know.
I'm gonna say Jackson gonna win this game.
Woo!
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Make sure y'all clip this, okay? Make sure y'all clip this.
Look, they playing at home. They playing decent, not the best. Decent. And I do believe Jackson's defense can get the FAM's quarterback. And I like I say, I like the kid, but the question is, like I say, he's the key to the game. How well can he play if Jackson State, especially if Jackson can line up in what we call a bear front? They gonna cover up all the offensive linemen and say we gonna play man defense. What you gonna do, FAM? And they gonna get after them. That's what I see. The question gonna be, can he make throws while he hurting? Because he gonna be hurting. Trust me.
Ooh. Yeah. So let me interpret, because I told you I'm Coach Northern's interpreter. All right, okay, you know what I'm saying. Y'all Rattlers can't block us, okay? That's basically what he's saying. All right, you know what I'm saying. Y'all ain't gonna be able to block the Tigers, you know what I mean. And Daniel Richardson gonna be hurting. All right, so he ain't gonna be getting outside the pocket because he gonna be limping in the first place. All right, so did I say it correctly? I want to make sure I got you correct.
I'm not gonna say limping, but okay. A lot of times, like just having a sore ribs or a sore wrist or a shoulder that's hurting makes a whole lot in going to. But I just think from what I've seen, Jackson be able to do against, if they feel like they can play man to man on the outside, that's the worst thing. I mean, and they've been like that. I'm talking about 1970s. Jackson State played bad defense with one man in the middle of the field and say, how you gonna run the ball? And we playing man to man.
Yeah, Jackson only has don't have any SWAC losses, right? The loss against Grand wasn't a SWAC game, so they're 2-0 in conference right now. Both teams are undefeated in the conference. This is really the question, right? FAMU, can they get off to a faster start than they have in most of the games this year? I think that's really going to determine, right? Because I think that if we see what happened with Alabama State or what happened with Norfolk or South Carolina State again, I think this game may be a little bit different, against Jackson in the Veterans Memorial Stadium with them getting evicted. But Coach, man, I appreciate you for coming on. I know you got to go early morning tomorrow. Any last words you got for the people?
Nah, man, just stay with your people, man. Like I say, stay with your people and check on your people. It's still some winning records that can be out there. It's still some spoiler roles that can be out there. And you know, like I say, just keep on supporting. And remember, like I say, sometimes just hanging there for the kids' sake. Sometimes don't get personal with the coaches or a player that you don't like. Just, you know, love your school and stay in there with them. Like I say, man, I'm gonna love whoever the head coach is at Southern. I'm gonna love them players because I know they go through a whole different role in life than what everybody else football players do. So, like I say, I'm pulling for all the SWAC schools, no matter who they are. But like I say, hey, just stay with your people, man.
Hey, let me interpret that. Coach saying, "Be nice after I get off this call. Don't y'all act no fool. Don't y'all act no fool on this show after I get off this call." Okay, that's what basically he's saying. Hey, man, Coach, we appreciate you, man. Today, next week we're gonna. Hey, listen, it's gonna be a big breakdown next week, depending on what happens with this game right here. All right, and Southern Alcorn. So we're gonna have a lot to talk about. So we'll let you go, man, and roll. Kerry, man, I just want to get your thoughts, man, on this game. FAMU versus Jackson State. What's your thoughts, man, on what's the keys to the game? And let me drop the link too, because I know we got Mr. Campbell in the building. I know we got Dr. Holiday in the building. You know what I'm saying? You know, we want to know y'all thoughts too as well. But Mr. Carey, what's the keys to this game, man? And how can FAMU come into Mississippi and continue to keep it rolling?
Well, they're just gonna have to minimize any mistakes. They're not heavily penalized like we are, but they can't come into this game. They can't come into this game tight, even though a lot is on the line, because it looks like for them the East is going to be tight. But they cannot let Jackson State's running game get out there, because that's extra defense against their offense. And I know Coach said they'll put their front against them, but the thing is, the FAMU quarterback, that's a big guy, so they would have to, you know, if he's like he has been in other games, hard to tackle, that bear front could come back and bite them, because now they're one-on-one, and FAMU has pretty decent sized receivers. So, you know, their receivers will probably win that jump ball battle. And, you know, those nasty yards where you almost sack the quarterback, but they're one-on-one and he just lays it out there, like I wish we would do with Savage, and let them just take that chance. Even if they miss the ball, you go back to him again, because, you know, that receiver is good for a reason. If you give him 3 chances and he catches 2 of them, you know, you don't worry about the one that he dropped. And that's what I think would happen. And for FAMU is they minimize the mistakes and move the ball. If their defense does start getting to the quarterback, then they'll have to shorten the field. And FAMU has some good receivers that can get yards after catch. But Jackson State, their key is running the ball and being sound on defense, and also special teams. I'm not as familiar with their special teams, but I thought Jackson State had a pretty good kicker, but I can't remember for sure. So they're going to have – because I think this game will be tight, so special teams is going to be key to possibly causing, you know, something to happen in this game that could flip it one way or the other.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think it's going to come down to – and I'm going to say this. I think it's going to come down to Kobe Gross, right? You got Kobe Gross, you got Carter Johnson versus Marvin Landy, right? That tight end room, you know.
That tight end room, man. Woo.
Yeah. Daniel Richardson loves to use his tight ends, right? You know what I'm saying? These are guys that they can put, you know what I'm saying, and it make it hard for you to cover, you know, on the field. Obviously, they got Gaston on the outside. But I'm interested to see who wins that battle and which of these tight ends have a better game. And I think from an offensive standpoint, you know, through the air, that's gonna be a big determining factor outside of just, you know, the receivers out wide for FAM and outside of the running backs for Jackson. But Doc, Mr. Campbell, welcome.
What's going on?
To the recap, you know what I'm saying, for the first time. We appreciate, well, Mr. Campbell for the second time, actually.
Yeah,
you know
second time.
We appreciate y'all for jumping on. Man, I would love to get you guys' thoughts. I know we're getting a full breakdown on the coach's corner on Tuesday from Mr. Campbell.
You know it's coming. You know it's coming, but hey, man, I'm just going to say something again, man. I just love where y'all represent your school, man. I just love that everybody has a channel where people can talk about. Yeah, I just love watching all of you all, and I'm just saying, Lionel, you one of my new favorite nephews because I just love what y'all doing, man. You rock with your team, and you do it with a lot of intelligence. It's clear that you do your research. But I do before we talk, I got to ask you guys a question.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I want to ask about the Prairie View thing. See, at FAMU, we have something called the 220 Club. Where them old heads that go back to Jake Gaither, where our coach has to talk to them every week. And if you've ever seen the 220 Club, we talk about class of 52. They're saying, listen, coach, why didn't y'all do this? Do you all have anything like that at Prairie View where there is a direct contact? Because I want to know, is there an issue where you guys have a lot of high expectations? Is there pressure that the team is feeling that every game that you're playing that is not executed and now starting to build, and now you have to go before this passing fan base that had these high hopes? Again, still not out of it just yet. So I just wonder, do you have anything like the 220 Club like we have that you got to talk to the folks?
I love the question, right? Because
yes.
So just to give a little well around, right? I remember I had a question with a have a conversation with a former player, right? You know what I'm saying? He supports the show, right? Great guy, supports the university program, right? And we were having this conversation because in our alumni group, a lot of conversations happen in our alumni group, right? You know what I'm saying? And he was like, man, it seems like sometimes there's a lot of kind of that 220 type talk, right? You know what I'm saying? And what I was telling him was like, listen, you got to understand, first of all, let's talk sports. Cowboys fans right now today, there's somewhere they can go to have conversations.
I don't want.
Doc heard that one.
I ain't even gonna use it today.
I want to find a whole damn coaching staff today.
Listen, I ain't gonna use it today, Doc. Saints fans, right? We got many places we can go to have conversations about what we feel. And guess what the reality of it is? It ain't about the solution either at all, right? It's really actually just about the conversation, just about talking, because it's sports. That's what you do with sports. You just talk. We got a place for that. I said with PV, guess what? We don't got no place for that, right? So the reality is the alumni group becomes, when there's issues with game day experience, it goes there. When there's issues with how we feel about the team, whatever, good, bad, it goes, everything go there because we don't got that. And I have to remind them, I say, do you not realize that Willie Simmons, who is, listen, if Deion Sanders wasn't able to just bring people in that got talent, he the best coach in the SWAC last 3 years. That's the reality, right? People were asking him why he started Musa. Musa won the celebration bowl. But guess what? He dealt with that. He stood up. He said, hey, listen, that's my quarterback. Whatever, boom, boom, boom. I'm like, listen, that's the reality. When you got to answer questions and you got people who come in and going to ask you day in and day out, week in and week out, that's a part of the pressure, and pressure busts pipes. It just is what it is. Now, we don't got that, but I promise you, even with our, and I think, Kerry, you can give your thoughts on this.
Yeah.
The pressure is felt because the reality is, from what we've been talking in the off season, the reality is like, listen, I always say, this is how I say it. I got championship taste. I ain't got SWAC West taste. Okay. I got championship taste. Okay. And I want a champion.
Big dreams right there.
Yeah. But guess what? To me, you can't get something you don't aim for. I keep saying all the time. I'm never going to win a SWAC championship if I never aim to win a SWAC champ. It don't make sense. Right. But you got to we don't have those places, Mr. Campbell, right? So right now, that's why it's convoluted. Right. And until there's a partnership between alumni and university to create that, because we've been talking about, we need a coaches show, right? Week in, week out, where we have a place we can talk, we can have real conversation. It's not like coaches, it's not SWAC coaches show where you ask a question and really ain't no chance to even go back and say, well, technically, like I just did right now, technically, he ran for 9.5 this game. He ran for 6.0 this game, 4.5. So it's not like we wasn't being successful. Why we abandoned him? You see what I'm saying? We can't have no real conversation, right? You know what I'm saying? And like Coach Northern, he get a chance to respond to us, right? So we don't got that. But Mr. Carey, I'll let you share your thoughts.
Well, what you said is the exact thing, and the alumni group is almost the worst place for us to have those conversations, because we have certain alumni that have expectations, but then you have other alumni that are like, well, why are you being so critical.
I think some of your alumni is still stuck on what from the 90s. Like, hey, you gotta sweep that under the rug because that happened. That was 20-some, 30-some years ago. So
That's
you
right.
gotta. It's a new day, and so when Willie came in and took over y'all program back in what 2014, 2015. I mean, around that time, like he only had one season where he didn't have more than 7 wins, and that was his first season. And so when he came in and he started building it up into the image that he said, and they started winning, and you still got people still was saying like, "Oh, we're gonna be back to what we was back then." You can't do that. And for me, and to us, for you to have a successful program, and for you to have an engaged alumni base, some of those you've been trying to change the whole narrative for like the last 20, 30 years. And
yes, you got to win to do that. Yeah, because Lionel will tell you the narrative has changed with our volleyball team. I mean, I've never seen that many people at volleyball games. And she started winning. She's no nonsense. And Coach Lindsay don't mess around. And she's animated. She expects those young ladies to win. And it's, they beat who did they meet a few weeks ago? Memphis. They beat Memphis a few weeks ago. And we weren't even shocked. We were just like, hey, she makes those girls play like that. And you don't get a lot of and they're locked in. They're not looking back at the audience, interacting with them and all that stuff. The problem we have is we need some real discipline. Our players will be at the game even if we ain't winning, and they're dancing to the music. It's like, that's just unheard of. I don't see FAMU players doing that. And I'm just saying that we and they have good music at FAMU, but but I'm just saying our guys got to be locked in. They ain't even looking at that. Don't care what's going on, and because that extra concentration keeps that ball from going off the tip of your fingers, or keep you from getting that bad penalty because you're locked in, locked.
And before I throw it back to you, Mr. Campbell, I think that's a perfect example. You mentioned Coach Lindsay, right? I'll go back to 2 weeks ago, right? That was a volleyball game. I think we lost again. I want to say Lamar. I forgot the team they played at home, right? And they lost. It was a bad match for them. Afterwards, I remember the guy that was interviewing Coach Lindsay was basically saying to her like, "Hey, it was a hard loss. Don't be so hard on the girls, right? They played well or whatever." If you could see the look on Coach Lindsay's face, it was almost like, yeah, sure. Like, no, they about to get this work because this game, we should have won this game, right? You know what I'm saying? To me, that short interaction is the epitome of what I say is, the 80 gamers. that's my name for them, right? You know what I'm saying? The 80 gamers, and then this new mindset of like, no, listen, we are expecting, right? We have expectations that's on the same level of the facilities that we have, right? We got two completely different mindsets. And to me, in that interview, it showed it, right? Because one person was almost like, man, don't even hold the girls accountable for being as great as they can be. And Coach Lindsay is like,
no,
absolutely not. We were supposed to win this game, right? You know what I'm saying? So, but Mr. Campbell, go ahead, because I know you brought the question.
No. I wanted to ask that because I think we're in a new era now. And it's just every Wednesday or Thursday, whenever the 220 club's on, and Coach, he gets harder questions at the 220 club than he get on the Monday coaches call.
That's the one.
Thank you. I know.
And
it is so funny because, first of all, these people actually know football. That's the first thing. But with that being said, they do come with a bias, because, again, they have seen championships. So I was just wondering, because I think people, again, not to get, again, when we're talking to the Prairie View show, so I'm going to talk about Prairie View. You know what I mean? We're going to get to this. But people don't realize, Prairie View does have a championship lineage. You know what I'm saying? It goes back.
It's a long time ago, right? Yeah,
it's a long time ago, but people don't forget that. You know what I mean? And if it's passed down, I wasn't around. Well, I was in Jackson in 1970. I remember Jackson, they played FAMU, but I wasn't at FAMU. But I bet you, I tell you one thing, nobody forgets that we won that in 1978. And we're going to keep saying it. Right. Nobody forgets that the Orange Blossom class, and we played Jackson State and all those other teams would come down to Miami, because that's part of our history. University of Texas doesn't forget that, do they? Alabama don't forget their lineage, so why should we? So you guys have a right to go back and say, hey, we expect this to be that. So I was just wondering, because, again, just watching the game, and you can see this team, and again, that's why I hate Coach was off, because, again, I just can't figure out why this team with the talent. And I've heard things, the Savage this, Savage that. But my question is, what I don't understand about your offensive play calling, it doesn't have a rhyme or reason. I don't see setup plays. You know what I mean? We're going to run this play to set up this play because we're going to give them this look to set up this play. And I never see that. It's kind of like, we're just going to do this to see if it works, and then we'll go back to that. It's never a rhythm to your offense. And when you don't have a rhythm to your offense where you can kind of see, you know what? And Coach Henry talked about this. We ran this play. Somebody asked him a question, well, why'd y'all do that? Well, we ran this play because we ran this play. That's why we scored a touchdown.
Right.
Yeah. He literally said that at the 220 club. Because somebody said, well, Coach, why did y'all do it? Be weak. Because they were like, why did you keep running the ball? He said, we had to do that because we had to keep showing it, because we knew we could have a big play in the passing game if we kept running that play. Right. We only get 2 or 3 yards. But I never see that with Prairie View when I see the same type of talent, not at the quarterback position, but I'm talking about the skill set, and especially on the offensive line. So I just wanted to,
definitely not the offensive line, right? But I think that's the benefit of having. I feel like the people who are not scared of accountability, right? And this is for people, this is for institutions, this is for companies, right? It doesn't matter, right? If you don't want accountability, you're never gonna be whatever you can be. That's just not how life works, right? You see what I'm saying? To me, 220 is we're gonna make you accountable because our program is gonna continue to be. We're not going back to none of that. Whatever.
Ain't doing no Alex Woods. We ain't doing that 1 to 10.
No, sir. We ain't going back there. So this helps us to stay here and to keep everybody on the same. But guess what? It really keeps the fans in check. It don't just keep the coaches in check. It also keeps the fans in check, because when they come and ask their questions and when they say something that's off, coaches get to correct them too, right? So
absolutely,
everybody, right? You know what I'm saying? But Doc, man, go ahead. I want you to go ahead and chime in too as well. But listen, these are all the things we need. You are hitting spot on, and these are the things that we really desire and we want, because we know we need it. Because you can't. Without accountability, there is no greatness. I'm not talking about success here and there, right? I'm not talking about a 2009 championship, right? But is that what the goal is? Is that one and then 15 years go by? Because that ain't my mindset. That ain't my thought. I don't know, because I feel like I think different than a lot of people. Okay,
man, but you got to see, here's the thing though, Lana. You got the actual platform to actually do that, because of the simple fact that what other platform talks about Prairie View athletics, talks about Prairie View football. Is you and maybe one
got
other.
Mike Prince, Open Mic Broadcast Network is another one. But yeah, it's not that many for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have the unique aspect to actually bring coaches in, ask them questions, and then you can still hold them accountable, and then you can get questions from the audience, from your chat, like, hey, what questions do you want me to ask the coach? Like, why did you run this play 3 times and nothing worked, and we should have switched to something else? You get what I'm saying? Like, you got the ace card, because you can hold, like, you can bring your coaches on, you can talk to them, you can kind of do an interview, but then you can go spill it to the game, like, okay, coach, how was it we did like this, but we didn't do it like this on the next play or on the next possession or something like that? Just stuff, in a sense. So I mean, that's what I would get at. Y'all have to excuse the sound. I'm about to get on the train. I just got off of work.
Oh, no problem. Hey, listen, I'm open to that. I've had people make that suggestion to me to try to have a coach. Listen, I have no problem with doing that and being that if that's what needs to be done, right? You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying it needs to be done, right? You know what I'm saying? Because it's how you keep everybody on the same. To me, it just helps in so many different ways. You know what I'm saying? But when was the 220 Club started, by the way?
Man, listen, a long time ago. A long time ago. That 220 Club goes way back. And Eddie, and God rest his soul, I think Eddie Jackson started it himself. And I think this goes, I'm going to have to find that out because I know it's been around at least since the 70s. So this might go back to, right after, because I think Mr. Jackson played for Jay Gates, played football there. So, like I said, so we're talking about at least the 70s, you know what I mean? Where they came back, because I think it was an offshoot, and this, again, this is one of the histories. I think the 220 Club was out because Florida State had their thing, and you know what? And of course, the segregation, FAMU said, well, okay, y'all gonna do y'all thing, we can't be about it, we're gonna do our thing. You know what I mean? So I think that's where that really, the genesis of that came from.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But yeah, I came on here. So here's the thing. I told everybody plain and simple. I never missed words. I said this game's gonna be for the SWAC championship.
Facts.
I knew what it was gonna be. I hated that Andrew and whatever happened to Alabama State. I want to play the best. That's, you want to win the best. But I still felt no matter what, these two teams, this game was gonna make a difference. Now here's the thing, and this is what this is what I want to see. Jackson State is playing the best. Okay, I think everybody agree with that. But FAMU has played better competition. If you look, so the thing about it is, and this is no, because everybody knows I'm JSU Blue. But if you sit back and look at FAMU's schedule, Miami, South Carolina State, Alabama State, and Troy. Jackson State, depending on what South Carolina State ends up doing, might be our fourth hardest opponent. Okay?
Yeah. Thank you.
So that means we're not going to be until we've already played. We played, and let's be honest, Alabama State has the toughest defense in the SWAC, top to bottom. As far as I'm talking about defensive backfield, linebackers, defensive line. We played them. We played South Carolina State. Look, you see what they're doing. And so the thing about it is, what does that have? Because Jackson State has played well, but they haven't played the level of team that we played. So sometimes that gives you kind of and I think that's why that Grambling loss kind of woke them up. And I think that was good for, I always hate to say a loss is good, but I think with Jackson State, because I think they were feeling themselves a little bit too much. I think it brought them back, and it put Jacoby and Morgan where he need to be in that game. So for me, here's the thing. A lot of people say, you know what, FAMU can't stop the run. Incorrect. FAMU can't stop the run in the first half. In the second half, nobody run. And I'm just saying, the stats prove that. Alabama State ran for 50-something yards. South Carolina ran for 45 yards. Norfolk State ran for 56 yards. So a lot of our issues, and this is why I got to give Coach Cozy, you see adjustments being made.
Yeah.
And he says it every time, is that it's not that we're getting blown off the ball. It's constantly a guy not lining up right, and then, gone, 70 yards. Because the Norfolk State game, 2 large runs. You take those 2 large runs, no, Alabama State, the guy ran for 75 yards. You pull that out. You know what I mean? So you start seeing this. So the thing that we're going to have to do is we're going to have to play because the only way to beat Jackson State, for us to beat them, is we're going to have to play a complete game.
Yeah.
And what I'm hoping is, because if you've noticed in every one of our games, nobody's ahead of us 14, 21 points. We're either tied or we're up. So the thing about it, if we can stay with Jackson 4 quarter, because here's the thing. We've got a quarterback, and see, this is where, and again, Jacoby Morgan's never been in a big game.
Mm-hmm.
D. Rich has played in a bowl game and has 45-plus starts. So there's nothing he hasn't seen. So what is Jacoby Morgan? This might be his, 8th, 9th start, 10th start, something like that. So again, if the game is close, I think FAMU says, we've been here before. We know what this looks like. But I tell you what, if Jackson State, because they got to play ahead of the chains, if they get that machine rolling, it's going to be a long day, because those guys got explosive guys that they could get 21 points real quick. Terrell, Fortillion, Morgan, you see what I'm saying? All those guys can go to the house. So if those guys start getting rolling, we're down 21-0, 28-7, then yeah, it's going to be a long game. But if this game is 21-17, you know what I mean? We only down, we're within striking distance, and we got to get a drive. We're going to get a drive.
Right.
And everybody in that, and the thing about it, everybody has seen D. Rich do it. And the thing about it, his players know, because all he's got to say, bro, we can get this. So that's the thing about it. So, I'm excited, but like I said, I think Jack State is playing better than us. There's no secret about that. But I think the thing about it is, I will say is that if you look at who we played, there is some level of competence to say we played some tougher teams. So that's why we ain't out here just blowing people out.
That was last week, right? When we talked about this, preview, that was my argument, right? Is at the end of the day, Jackson hasn't really played anybody, right? I mean, now, and hindsight is always 2020, they say. But listen, today, Grambling, you don't think the same about Grambling as you thought when they played against Jackson. Lane is Lane, obviously, right? You know what I'm saying? You don't think, Southern is Southern, right? You know what I'm saying? So who has Jackson really played? ULM is probably the notch of everybody.
ULM is our other game, the only game that we played.
That's it.
My hometown, which I told y'all don't sleep on Monroe, Louisiana. I told y'all don't sleep on the Rose City, okay? They 5-1 right now with a loss to Texas. But outside of that, Jackson has not played competition that and I think that is important because there is something to, just like we talked at the opening of the show, and I talked to Coach Norton and said, hey, listen, my guys this past week, they playing against guys that's bigger than them. They playing against guys, they 13 years old playing against 18 years old. Listen, that's great for us, right? You know what I'm saying? Because playing against that prepares them when they play against guys they same age, we going to be rolling, right? You know what I'm saying? It's something about playing against that level of competition that prepares you for a game like this. FAMU has been through that, right? They've been in close, tough games, right? Listen, blowing out Alabama A&M and holding on is not the same thing as grinding it out to beat South Carolina State. It's not. It's just not the same, right? And so I do tip the scale in FAMU favor because of that, right? Just on the strength of that. But Doc, I want to hear your rebuttal.
Hold on, wait. A lot of one thing. Jeffrey said Jackson played ULM. ULM beat the F out of the game was 13-9, bro. Yep. ULM versus Troy. So no, they did not destroy Troy. So I don't know what game you watched. So I want to be clear on that. So ULM did not beat Troy, as you said in there. So
the thing, ULM is not even an explosive team. ULM is one of those teams where they grind you out. They grind you out. Yeah, they don't have a quarterback that's giving you gaudy numbers. Now the crazy thing about ULM, they went away from General Booty like in the third game. So that tell you a lot.
Hey, listen, Doc. Listen, this is not a shot. This is just a fact that PZ's putting here, right? This is from last year to this year, by the way, right? TC has still not, and this is not, again, like I said, it's not a shot to TC Taylor, right? You play who on your schedule, you know what I'm saying? So it's more, it's more a shot at Ashley Robinson, I guess, than TC Taylor, right? You know what I'm saying? Because you just play who on your schedule. But they haven't beat y'all haven't beaten anybody winning record yet. Does that concern you at all?
I mean, we just got to play. I mean, my whole thing is we play who is in front of us. So, I with the record and stuff like that, I can't really put it out there like that. I just put it like we just play whoever's in front of us. So, like this weekend, we got FAMU, and we got to go out there and play 100%. Just got a ball at 100% and play a perfect game. Yeah. And that means that we gotta minimize turnovers, we gotta minimize penalties, and we gotta be able to keep our quarterback clean.
I want to ask Curry this. If you're talking about Joseph Henry, you're talking about TC Taylor, fourth quarter. Hey, listen, it's we knotted up 24-24. Each team gets a chance at a crack at it. Who do you trust to put their team in a better position to make that last minute drive down the field and get the ball in the end zone from an OC standpoint?
I like Coach Henry in that one. He's been there. He really has done a good job. Even he's been with shotgun for a while, and now he's still at FAMU. So I like him in that scenario.
Well, here's the thing. This is I think TC Taylor's great, but I think this is where the unfair advantage comes in at, because you call plays based off of who's your quarterback. He can have the comfort of knowing that he's got a quarterback that started 45 games, that has seen things that will be thrown at him, and he can be confident saying, you know, if I call this play, D. Rich is going to execute it because he's been able to execute. So that's the thing about it. I think what Jackson State is going to be able to do, I think TC Taylor has got a comfort zone with Jacoby Moore, knowing the plays that Jacoby is very successful at. I don't think Jacoby Moore is a guy that's going to throw the whole route tree. I don't think that's his game. And that's no shot at him. That's just a fact. I think he's more of an athlete, you know, thrower than a pass. He's not going to sit up there and just go for 340. You know what I'm saying? He ain't Willie Totten, you know, Steve McNair. But the guy can sit up and give you 200 yards passing and 100 yards running. And again, the offense, TC Taylor can call plays that can go for him, which again, foretelling on those streaks, you know what I mean? You're going to see a lot of that. You're not seeing foretelling running the route tree. He's going to run plays that are good for him. That's what you see from Jackson State. I think with FAMU, we run multiple. People would question why we got even under center. You know what I'm saying? They asked him that. We run multiple sets. We're a multiple set team because we're trying to set things up. So I think that's one of the things that, you know, I want to see. But what I'm most excited about, and I'm going to say this in a very positive manner, I'm glad that this FAMU team and this new era, I call it after prime, you know what I mean? Everybody's here now, you know what I mean? This game is on TV for a reason. Yeah. And I'm excited for the SWAC, for this game, for ESPN to say, you know what, these two guys are going to bring eyeballs. So I'm excited. I told all my family people, if you ever gone to get, you got to, hey man, listen, like, you know this. Also, the Fed is a different animal. You know what I'm saying? You got them 30,000 folks and them pom-poms waving, you know what I'm saying? And that boom is going, bro. It's different. It's different.
Yeah. 30,000, not 60?
Oh, well, you know, so here's the thing. That the 60s when Alcorn play. You know, we're not bringing 20,000. You know what I'm saying? When they play Alcorn and Southern, so we you know, but it'll be 30,000 Jack State people no matter who playing.
When you say Alcorn, you must mean Alcorn and Valley when Alcorn and Valley play. That's what you meant.
Listen, man, Jack State. Hey, listen, hey man, listen. They put Alcorn and Jack State put 50 in that stadium because I've been in probably 3 of those games. So they put 50 in there. They put 50 in there.
Yeah. 50 and 60 are 2 different numbers last time.
But there's more than anybody else get to do on a regular season game. That's what I will say.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So I will say this, man. You know, and
Mr.
again,
Campbell defending his Jackson peeps.
Yeah, you know. So man, I got to, man, because like I say, for me as a SWAC fan, you know what I mean. I want to see big games. That's why. Yeah. See, I'm gonna be honest with you. The Blue Bloods, we Grambling, Jack State, FAMU, Southern to a point. But we also need teams like you all to be good. You in Texas, man. You know what I'm saying? Because if you all are good and FAMU come down there, that means that helps us recruit. You know, because y'all players, all these Texas kids, like we want to go to Prairie View where we get to see FAMU. Same thing for Alabama State. Alabama State needs to be good. You know what I mean? So when these teams can be on TV. So it's must see TV. You know what I mean? We play Prairie View. Southern plays Prairie View. Jack State plays Prairie View. Jack State plays Alabama State. The more games that are more important makes the SWAC better. So that's really what I want. That's what I want.
For sure. And it's going to be a great game. It's definitely going to be a big game, man. I'm interested to see what get it done. I'm not going to ask you to make your prediction because I know people are going to tune in on Tuesday. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? We're going to get the prediction on Tuesday. Doc, are you dropping the prediction later this week? Or?
Yeah, I'm doing mine on Wednesday. I'm going to do mine on Wednesday.
Okay. So Wednesday show for Doc Holliday, HBCU Overdrive. By the way, Doc Holliday is also a part of our fantasy league, and he's lower than me. That's all you need to know about that. But
that's how I go.
Man.
But he's been balling out too. So
I
was about to say something in the comments. No, I ain't the numbers yet. All right, it's Sunday. Listen, I'm gonna get the numbers. You know what I'm saying? We gonna have it out by tomorrow. All right, so we can have these numbers right. You feel me? So, but it's been going down. Hey, listen, I did pick Giovanni Gibson up. That was very disrespectful of me, by the way.
I picked Giovanni Gibson up. No, I picked up Mekhi Higgins.
Listen, you picked up Mekhi Higgins. Listen, you should have picked up Giovanni Gibson, all right? Because, listen, as much as I ain't want to, because I don't like taking players when they go against my team, but listen, the guy that just told me you gotta pick my man up. So I made the wise decision and took Giovanni Gibson, and he went 8 for 183 or whatever it was. Okay,
man, I'm gonna say this. I was gonna try to come down to Jackson, but I won't be able to because work is permitting me from making it to Mississippi. But at the same time, I'm gonna be tuning in on, watching it from my phone or from my laptop or so at work. I just want to see a good game. Two healthy teams because we both had bye weeks, and whoever comes out in this game, like you said, they control the whole. They control the East. Really, they control the whole SWAC.
Yeah.
It is what it is, man.
Well, Lon, let me say one thing before I go. I just want to say again, I'm proud. My other nephew Blue is in the chat. Watch his show. Him, Coach Fred. Every Sunday, hey man, listen, this boy, he came on. I give him credit because folks were looking for him. He came on. He talked about his team. Him, Coach Northern, and all you guys came on. Beautiful breakdown. Y'all watch my nephew Doc. Love him, man. Because you know what? I'm gonna say this again. This is for us and by us. So we got to support all these channels, man. Just give them a like, give them a share. I know it might not be your school. You might not agree with what they say. You might not agree with Doc or Blue or anything. But, man, this is our stuff, man. This is ours. And Blue, I'm saying it's ours because you part of our nephew, you part of our family, too. So the fact that we're giving our schools exposure, you know what I'm saying? We're talking about players. ESPN is not talking about Savage. Y'all talking about Savage. ESPN not talking about Jacoby and Morgan. Simone and Doc are talking, and Ken, my nephew Ken and them are talking about Gassett, G. Rich, OG Strike. We're doing that. So we are able, we know these names because of all us. So I'm just going to say that, man, again, I appreciate y'all. Lana, I love you, proud of you, being a great dad. And, I'll be back next Sunday. Good, win or lose. I take that back. I will not because me and Thick 36 are going to see Usher. So either what's going to happen is, either I'm going to come back to Atlanta happy with a smile on my face, or I'm going to come back sad and she's going to put a smile on my face. I'm going to be good either way.
Either way,
I'm with it, brother. Either way, I'm with it. Either way, man. I appreciate you, man. Love all y'all, man. Love all y'all.
Hey, listen, I appreciate you. So, hey, make sure y'all check out the Coach's Corner on Tuesday. You know what I'm saying? I know he's going to drop the prediction there. Doc Holliday's going to drop his on Wednesday. But, Kerry, I'm going to put you on the spot, though. Because listen,
hold on. Let me stay here. Let me hear this real quick before I leave.
You ain't on no Tuesday or Wednesday show. So, hey man, who you got? FAMU, Jackson State. Give me the score as well.
This is a good one. Both good defenses. I still think this game is going to be a special teams issue or greatness that's going to turn this game, but. If FAMU can contain the run for JSU, I trust Richardson a little more than Morgan. I think I can see FAMU coming down here and making some Jacksonians not real happy. But I think they're going to pull it out, but not by a lot. But special teams could tip that scale the other way as well. Because
I tell you, don't
in the return game.
Don't kick it to Terrell. We making house calls.
That's what I'm saying.
Listen, man, we are kicking that ball into the horseshoe, Doc, or on top of the field house. Y'all can start at the 35 or 30.
Listen,
because he's the problem.
Making house calls. You kick it to my man.
He said he tried out the field all game long, baby. He ain't touching no punts.
Bro, listen, make him go 70. Make him go 70 instead of him going 80.
What's the score? What's the score?
24, because Nino got the 24. 24-21, the Snakes.
Hey.
Damn.
I first of all, 24, this is my basketball number, right? My mama made these hats for us, right? So it's custom, you know what I'm saying? So that's my old school hat. But I got FAMU 27-24. I think it's gonna be a great game. Coming into the season, I had Jackson, but seeing what I've seen up to this point, FAMU has just shown that they have, at the end of the day, they got that championship pedigree, right? of knowing how to win games. And that's something that teams have to learn how to do, right? You have to learn how to win. And they've learned how to win. Not that I don't think Jackson can get the job done right, but I think FAMU pulls out a close one.
Oh, you about to make me. You about to make me say. You about to make. You know what? Let's scratch that. I'm making my prediction right now.
Let's go. Let's go.
I'm making it right now.
See, you got to pull it out of people. You just got to pull it out of people.
Defense. Jackson State's defense versus FAMU offense is going to be, especially in the trenches. We know last year we could beat FAMU's offensive line. Blew our defensive line off the ball. Another thing that we kind of like we fixed this season from last year was our special teams. Our special teams, especially when it comes to tackling and the return game, it was horrible. So we fixed that. Our offense is pretty much we just we gotta get our backs going. Irv, JD, Desmond. If we get Amon Miller back, we're gonna get him going. Travis Terrell, move him around in different spots. And it all to me, it all depends on number 15 for Jackson State. See what he does. But you know what I'm gonna tell you? You already know how we say it. We always say JSU by 40. It's
minus what?
It's gonna be BTA in the vet. Jackson State. I get Jackson State 34, FAMU 21.
Ooh,
that is my prediction.
First of all, that's a high scoring game.
Hey, Doc, let me tell you what Doc played the number. See, that's what Jackson State average, and that's what we average. So he said we just go put the average down. See, Doc ain't slick. See, I know that Jackson State math, man. I know what Doc did there.
This ain't Jackson State math. This ain't Oak Cliff math. You know what I'm saying?
This is Oak Cliff math. That's your hood. That's your hood.
Yeah, that's my hood.
Oh,
but for real though. It's a lot of things I do see with FAMU that we got to contain Daniel Richardson. We want to, to me, you got to force them to run because I want to say that they can't run, but they don't like to run like that. They try to keep the game in D-Rich hands, and just trying to make them one-dimensional.
And we still run over 100. And we still run over 100 yards every game. You know what's funny about that? And we still run over 100 yards every game. That's the thing about it. We still run over 100 yards every game. So that's the thing about it. Do we have the 200-yard game like Jackson State? No, we don't. But see, again, it's about what our offense is. And because let's be honest, with Willie, we wasn't then when Bishop Bonner was tearing up. It's not even with Willie and them last year. We wasn't running no 200 yards. You know what I'm saying? So. That's FAMU's DNA. We like a West Coast offense. We pass to set up the run. That's what we do.
It is. Hey, it is what it is. So we're gonna see which style wins this fight, right?
Yeah, styles make fights.
Hey, styles make fights, and it's gonna be interesting. So I know everybody's gonna be tuned in again. Hey, listen, we appreciate all y'all for jumping on and for joining us. Man. Remind us, no problem, Mr. Campbell, Doc. Next week we're gonna be on again with the recap. Make sure y'all join us Sundays in the evening. We're gonna be on at 8 next week. All right. I had 2 weeks, had a campaign, a series with my church, so that's why we were starting a little late. And then last, I did see this comment for Zach. This is the reality of the situation. A lot of times, at the end of the day, right? You know what I'm saying? We can try, we can reach out, but people got to be willing. And I think this is why the university has to get involved in setting up stuff like that, right? You know what I'm saying? It can't. If we could just do it, listen, let's do it, right? You know what I'm saying? But when it's something that's spearheaded through the university, right? And that's mandatory, basically, right? I think that's a completely different thing. And that's what we need. That's the direction that we definitely need to go in. So I even appreciate y'all coming on and sharing those thoughts, because I think that, again, helps us to see, even as, the men that watch, right, the alums, like, hey, listen, this is what you need if you want to hold people accountable, right? Because, listen, I'm only holding you to what you told me. So before I go, matter of fact, I'm only holding you to what you tell me, right? And this is what you told me, right? You know what I'm saying? This is what you told me.
So we got some guys, Shamar Savage, who I have been with me this year, wide receiver, 6 foot, had a great season last year, good season, should I say. CJ Preston, who I'm looking forward to seeing how well he managed that D line. That
is it for your program and given where you are, given where you were last year, is it safe to say that this season for you is championship or bust?
It has to be, and I want my guys to think that way as well, because we fell short last year, and little things that we could have done that we didn't do last year, I think is being addressed early this year, and if they continue to do that, I think we definitely can be another championship. We can have another championship.
Hey, listen, so I'm only holding you. Hey, Kerry, did I say that? Those are my words.
You didn't even ask.
I'm only listen. So hey, I'm just going with what was said. It said, hey, listen, championship are us, right? It didn't say SWAC West title or bust. It didn't say 6-win season or bust. It didn't say rebuilding year or but. It was a championship.
No, it didn't say rebuilding. It was.
I was saying. So hey, listen, if you're an alumni and you offended, listen, that ain't. I can't do nothing about that, right? You know what I'm saying? Because listen, I'm just telling you the words that didn't come out of my mouth, right? And he ain't say it's a rebuilding year. He ain't say, man, it's the smallest D line we done had since I've been here, right? He ain't say we got 0 quarterbacks that can get the job done. Listen, I'm just telling you this what you told me. That's all I'm saying. You feel me? So at the end of the day, it is what it is, man. So we appreciate y'all for joining on. But hey, listen, we still it's still PV versus everybody. It still is what it is. Still PV versus everybody. Mr. Bing, we appreciate you joining us, man, and always coming on and supporting. You know what I mean? Listen, Chase still,
is that my running back's dad?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, Chase still that guy. Chase still that guy.
Give his son the rock. He has the highest average on the team, and they don't put him in there.
Roll the tape. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? We clip ourselves too. Tell them, all right. We clip ourselves too. All I'm saying is you told me championship or bust. Listen, you mad because I believed you? You feel me? I believed you. I told you. I believed you. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. But we ain't gonna talk about all other stuff. Coach Northern told us to be nice. Okay, he told us to be nice. You know what I'm saying? So we not having no conversation about nothing else, right? It's PV versus everybody. But at the end of the year, we gonna have conversations. All right. So
real quick before you go, what are we doing on the bye week?
What do you mean?
What would be your plan for the bye week if you were PV?
Man, listen. That's a great question. What would be my plan for the bye week? Man, listen, I don't even know. I can't even lie to you. I can't lie to you. I don't even know. That's a good question. Like you caught me off guard with that one. You know what I'm saying? Listen, for the bye week, I mean, you really got to kind of get back to the basis, which is what we talked about before getting back to, right, a couple of weeks ago, though, right? You know what I'm saying? But to me, that's what you do, right? Use the bye week to work on some of those fundamentals that you feel like guys are slipping on, right? Whether especially from an offensive line standpoint, whether it's D-line standpoint, talking about, working on some different techniques, right? One thing that we didn't talk about with the D-line was, a lot of times it seems like they're rushing out of their lane, right? You know what I'm saying? And so a lot of times Higgins was able to get out. And that's why I kept saying, like, Alcorn quarterback, like he scared me, you feel me? Because he really got legs like that, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Higgins has legs, but he's really looking to keep his eyes downfield. He really not trying to necessarily beat you with his legs. But Xavier Vaughn, like, he gonna beat you with his legs, like for real, right? So, and I saw a lot of times where, man, we get in a pass rush upfield, but we're not really pass rushing also to contain, you know what I mean?
No,
and so, right, you know what I'm saying? And so a lot of times, he got out, and that's where, some of those plays on the outside and some of those plays on third down was good. Now, we did better in the second half, right, in coverage, right? So we didn't give up as many, right, first downs on those type of breakdowns as we did in the first half. But, to me, I think that's where it goes back to, right, working on some of those things like that during the off week. But And right now, man, it's just like really seeing who really want to be there. Because at the end of the day, you know, when you coming into a season, and that's the question I really got is where's the mindset anyway? If you come into the season believing you gonna be one thing, and now you seeming that you're completely something else, you know, where the guys at, right? Mentality wise, mentally, where's the focus, right? Where's the lock in? Because this is really you see who you really got, right? You know what I'm saying? You know, on this team. But yeah, man, penalties. Listen, I don't know what they're gonna do about the penalties because they're just like every week. I think this week was 70 yards, so less than 100. We was less than 100.
Oh, we improved then. We averaged 115 a game.
Less than 100. Less than 100.
I told you what I'd like my plan to be: work on red zone offense, and I don't know if it's legal to do the pit anymore, but I would really like to see the offensive lineman in the pit against Stokes. Then you really know who your offensive lineman should be.
Yeah, so, but yeah, man, so I don't know. That is what it is. So with that being said, though, man, we appreciate y'all for jumping on. We gonna holler at y'all next week. We'll see y'all midweek this week as well on Wednesday. So we'll talk to y'all later. Holla.